both Darrell and I wasted a lot of our teenage years playing games. Video games. A lot of people like demonize gaming and say it's like a waste of time. And it actually teaches you things.
Yes, the customers are the XP points, and you're going to start being able to identify patterns a lot easier because of that training.
Video games, particularly for me, was Counter-Strike and my old PS2. I remember winning it and just absolutely going.
Like you won your PlayStation?
I won it through a competition. I entered a competition and I thought it was a joke. Someone emailed me and they're like, "You won." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, champion." Best
Scams.
Yeah, scammers. That was when the internet was just invented back in my day.
Yeah.
You know, won a PlayStation and then just spent way too much time playing Wipeout Fusion and Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
But that then led me to where we are today. But the reason we wanted to bring this up, or we think this is really important or an interesting conversation, is because my son, who is now 4.5 years old, is on the PlayStation, absolutely loving it. Got addicted, some might say. We've managed to rein that back into just weekends only, so that's good. Saved ourselves there. But I was thinking about how important it is and like to actually play games and struggle through them and just grind through the work. And it actually teaches you things. And I was saying to Darrell, things that actually translate to real life, like where you actually need to implement. So we want to talk about that today. So let's jump straight in. Dazza, tell us about your history with gaming first. I want to hear this story before we even start.
Oh, what's my gaming history? First PC we got, I don't even know what year it was, but trying to install a game on it. It was like this Echo the Dolphin. It wasn't Echo the Dolphin. I think that was Super Nintendo or something, but it was some dolphin game with like a USB whistle that you could talk through. But it never worked because like the computer was shit, didn't have a graphics card, whatever. So it never worked. Spent most of my younger years, I think we had a Nintendo 64 at one stage, but most of my younger years were spent more trying to get games working on really cheap, shitty hardware that just didn't work.
Yes.
That was
Can't relate.
most of my life was that, and then slowly as I got older I got more and more devices. Real-time strategy was where I really like got hooked into like spending heaps of time into games. So that's Age of Empires and Command and Conquer and stuff. Those games specifically, I think the amount of time you spend trying to understand systems and the best ways to like advance and pick the right paths and stuff, super interesting. And then then gaming a fair bit, like Counter-Strike, like the competitive shooters and stuff. There was some good like social elements to some of the shooters back in the day when like Xbox was big and all the boys would jump on after work and you'd just be chatting shit till like 1 a.m, just playing round after round after round of the same game, but just trying to do better things and learning maps and strategies and stuff. Yeah. And then kids, it sort of fades off into now once in a while I'll play a single player game. So I'm like a bit of Red Dead Redemption. What did I just start the other day? Oh, another Assassin's Creed game. Right. Those are like the Ubisoft games. They're really like procedural, you know what to expect. Go up to tower, reveal area of map, go do quests, those sort of things.
Yeah, epic. All right, well, you triggered me remembering so we didn't have, in our life, there was a point where we actually had no electricity for a couple of years, like legit. We lived on.
Did you have the PlayStation at that point?
We had none things. And I remember the first gaming console that we got was like the Sega Mega Drive. I call it Sega or Sega.
Sega.
But
Sega.
Sonic and Knuckles was the game.
Yeah.
And we'd play that game. This was before we lost electricity, but we'd play that game like all night. Like we were young, but we'd play all night. My parents were like, "Can you guys go to bed?" And you're like, "Nah, I'm not." And then we'd also get these times where we'd get to rent a console for a day or two.
Yeah, we did that.
Oh, dude, and we would not stop playing because it's like
that was for me that was Grand Theft Auto 3, and it was a 2-night rental. So you did the overnighter where you're like playing and like falling asleep at the controller at 6 a.m. Like, oh god, the character's just standing in the middle of the screen getting shot at.
Yeah, so that was great, and then we had that period of no electricity. But then when we got we got like electricity after a couple of years again. We moved to New Zealand. We got electricity like the rest of the first world. It was really funny because we got a computer and it was just like game on. Like I did not stop. And my dad got like a demo computer. So like the same thing you talk, like the hardware just wasn't there. So I would download games on dial-up, 56K. And then you download like a 60 meg file. It'd take all night. You get in the morning and fail.
Corrupted.
And then like I remember playing Croc demo. So you play back in the day it was all shareware. So like Jazz Jack.
Well, you'd get like a CD with a serial or something, and it would be like a short version of the game.
Yeah. It was like it was so good. So you'd play like a couple of levels a million times. But then from there, yeah, went into the PS2s, and then I went into Counter-Strike was my like probably the main thing that I played. In the same thing. We'd get all the lads over in the house, LAN it up, and then jump online and just friggin' go nuts. It was so fun. There's definitely Age of Empires 2 was a game that I played heaps. The reason why we wanted to talk about this and how this is relevant to what we do today.
Back to the point.
Funny, back to the real. Let's just back to business, guys. It's just there's three things that I think that are really important, or that you can pull out of gaming. So there's this. You also have to look at it in a way. A lot of people like demonize gaming and say it's like a waste of time, and it definitely can be. It can be like anything. You can waste your whole life doing something, and if you only do that one thing. But then like there's also other sides. You can become a competitive gamer. Like, there's that option. But if you're just literally sitting there having beers and playing games with your whole life and not achieving anything, cool. There's that. But you can do that with anything in life. So we're kind of saying in a balance. But I think the first thing that's really cool about gaming is just purely skill development, right? So like Darrell touched on, strategic thinking, problem solving, and teamwork in multiplayer games. Now, obviously, as long as you're playing with people on a similar skill level and you're not playing with 6-year-olds when you're a 30-year-old. Yeah, so you got the teamwork piece, the problem solving, and just the ability to actually develop, hand-eye coordination. So you can really see this when especially like I was mentioned with my son, starting him probably a year ago and seeing like he could just, he's just running into walls and he doesn't know what's going on.
Tully and Bowie now.
Yeah. So you're just like, okay, champ, like we play Lego, which is really cool. But then you get to that point where now he's like, you can see the hand-eye coordination, you can see how his brain's working. And it's like, it's a really good skill, especially in like this day and age where we do work with computers, we do work with drones, we do all these kind of things are, really important. So having those skills is really handy.
I don't think there's anything that a kid would be exposed to at the same age bracket where they would be confronted with and solving so many problems in the same time scale.
Yeah.
So I think that's like the super interesting thing to me is like, not only is there multiple ways to solve problems in these video games, so there might be like upgrading your weapons or going a different way or trying a different tactic, but like the sheer variety of problems that you have to solve means that you're not just like, if you expose them to a puzzle, they're going to learn motor skills of turning things, putting it in. Once you've done one puzzle, they get more complex, but it's the same problem as spatial location here. There's no like, you would have to just keep reintroducing new things, new types of activities all the time, where a game sort of does that on turbo mode, because it might expose you with a problem of like, you have to get better with how you control the thing, or you have to learn a new thing, you have to go a different way, you have to go earn more money in the game, whatever it is. There's just like so many different problems that you're exposed to. And as long as you're watching it happen and helping the kid, like obviously if you just let them play for 10 hours at night, every night, there's going to be problems there because you're not monitoring them anyway. There's no other way that they're going to learn that much stuff that fast.
100%. Yeah, I've seen this like straight, and it's really cool to watch, the skill development. Like the first time Bodhi plays through like a Lego game, it's a pretty much a disaster every 5 minutes. Dad, can you come help me? Dad. It's like, and you're like, dude, just leave me alone for 1 second. And usually I'm sitting right next to him, so it's like, I will. And then you watch this by the second play, or even probably the second or the third, he does it the whole way through. So
and then you have to stop actually playing, and then you're just bored sitting next to him like, oh, I'm not.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, Dad, I'll do it all by myself now, thanks, champ. And like Ratchet and Clank, he just friggin' smashed the whole game by himself. And I'm like, dude, I wanted to see it. Like, I wanted to get to watch it. I was like, oh yeah, just finished it. And you're like, dude, okay. So it's really cool. That's like skill development's a very important one, especially in the digital age, I think. In the past, labor jobs and stuff, it may not have had the same crossover, but I think nowadays definitely does. The next point that we want to touch on is like the mindset and resilience, right? So like it kind of goes with the problem solving, but it's more about like overcoming the challenges and trying, right? Failing, trying again.
That's like low risk failure where there isn't a punishment for failure. Especially in the younger kids games where death doesn't matter. It's you just recycle, do it again. You don't get punished too heavily for testing new things. And also gaming is incredibly optimized to reward the right choice to guide you on the right path. And if you can see those same hints in life when you're doing something, look for the hint that says like, this is the right path. So in a lot of games, there'll be like something like you're meant to climb this wall. So there will be a sort of an edge on the wall or a yellow part on the wall, and you look for that pattern throughout the game. If you can apply that as you're doing real things in the real world, you're going to start being able to identify patterns a lot easier because of that training of like, the game gives you a little dopamine hit when you go somewhat in the right direction. Then you follow that path and you go down that path because you got the hint that that was the right thing. That happening in the real world later is going to be hugely beneficial because you're going to have someone who looks for the positive signals as opposed to the negative signals.
And I guess that a real good example of this is when they're younger, when they start, you watch them just absolutely just lose it when they can't
Really
do
frustrated.
things. Like the frustration's just like, this game sucks, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, do it again. Because this is life, right? You can tell when someone's done something like played games for a long time because they understand like, cool, I failed, I do it again.
Try to
Fail,
different
I do
way.
it again.
Yeah.
And I keep doing it until I actually succeed. And I think that's so key because this is, especially in like software, it's exactly that. You're playing a game all day long and it's the same. You get rewarded when you solve a problem. That's why software is like being an engineer is addictive once you actually understand because you become addicted to solving problems. And it's a great addiction, right? But it is addiction. It's a filthy addiction. And you get the similar roller coaster. When you solve a really big problem and you finish it, you're kind of like, who am I? Like, what do I do next? Because you want the next challenge, and gaming really sets you up for that. Whereas like, okay, I failed that, try it again, try it again, try it again. And Bodhi, you can see the difference in like a year just on how he thinks and approaches problems now. It's not about, oh, I can't do it. It's like, what do we know? What do we do? We try again. We try again. He's like, yeah, Dad, I'm going to try again. Oh, that's not good. I failed.
And figuring out how to figure it out for themselves as well. Because like the last time I did this, what I looked at was this element, and that sort of gave me a hint that this is the way I should do it. And they sort of think for themselves and start processing that really well.
Yeah, it's really good. And that kind of leads into patience. So it's the same concept. And this really applies to what we do, especially as an entrepreneur. It's like, how do you develop patience? Because it's all about that. Like, how do you win in business? You stay alive the longest. How do you stay alive the longest? You just have the most patience. You have the most patience to play out the same things over and over and over every single day, even though you can't really see what's doing. Like a lot of time you come in, and this can kind of go off in tangents, but it's like you sit here and you do the work, even though you can't really see the ball moving forward. It's inching. But when you look back, you can see it. But in the moment, you can't. And that's that patience element. And I say to Darrell, that's, I think, one of the biggest things that I developed through gaming was just that patience. Like when you're playing those games and you have to just keep going for hours, like especially like the real-time strategies, you got to play for hours trying to do something and just sitting down, like just the ability to sit down and do one thing for a long period of time, especially as a software engineer, is so crucial. And even a business owner, like you listen to Emozi and they're talking about like sit down for 8 hours and do one thing. And like, yes, gaming rewards you a lot, but if you can find like and start developing the patience and pulling up the things that are important and then just using and tuning them into a different area. So we get rewarded now from building our business. That gives us the biggest hit.
Yeah.
Like for me, gaming doesn't really do anything for me, but building a business does. So I have the same pull and drive to do that. I'm like, I want to code because then I do the code, I sit down for hours, I get the reward. Or when we deploy a feature to users and they start using it, or we get a new user, you can develop the same. So you can gamify business. I think that's really
the mental model you have to put in your head.
Yes.
The customers are the XP points and everything mapped.
So yeah, how do
you get like final boss customers, the big ones, they're the ones. And we always did this back at Real Hub as well. Like we had final boss customers and it was always, once you beat that one, it's the next one. It's the next one. You always have like the DLC or the series of games. There's always something bigger to take on and you will beat your head against the wall 500. Like I can think in games where died 50 times to the final boss. And every time you die, it's not just dying, it's having to do the entire fight again and also wait for some reason a loading animation that takes 5 minutes, even though you haven't left the same room that you're in. And it's really inconvenient, but you have to do it and you get through it. And then when you finally beat it, you're like, that was amazing. What's the next challenge? And if the game ends at that point, you're like, oh, I feel empty now.
Dude, this is so funny because this bites me so hard. So there's some games that are just disgusting. Like Crash Bandicoot is probably, it's such a skillful game and I just don't play enough to be very, very good at it. But Bodhi will get me to do stuff and then I'll fail and I literally would have died 50 times. Like no joke. It's like it has a counter and it's like 50. New Crash lets you die, keep dying. And he's like, don't worry, Dad, you can just try again. And I'm like, dude, I'm about to throw this controller at the screen because it's all about timing on the boxes. I'm just like, dude. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I have to now step up and show him that you don't just give up.
patience and
Bro, and honestly, sometimes it's just like I'm gonna lose it. I'm actually gonna lose it at this game. So yeah,
you should try like it's really popular these days. There's like these really exceptionally difficult games like Dark Souls and Elden Ring and stuff, and like a normal character will come out and it'll kill you permadeath. You're out of the game. It's a whole new thing. Just making games almost impossible to finish, and everyone just who finishes it gets like the badge of honor.
No, not for me. I don't know enough time.
I'm all about the enjoyable stuff now. I'm like easy difficulty, just play for 15 minutes, go to bed.
Just for fun. Spyro the Dragon, like that kind of stuff. Love it.
Yeah.
Then the final point, little bonus here, I think is cool. And it doesn't really apply so much to gaming, but it's one of those things. It is quality time together with whoever you're playing with, right? When you're playing a game and you're doing things together, especially when you're doing 2-player games, you're working together as a team and you're having fun. So it's a nice way to switch off, right? It is sometimes people just need some way to switch off, and if you can switch off with someone else, especially like if it's your child or whoever it is, your mate or whatever, it's just a nice way to like spend time, have some fun and wind down, especially if you are constantly working in a business where it does require a lot of mental power. So that's what I like.
It's like a deliberate decompression, and it's also not putting the TV on while the kid watches a kid's show and you sit on your phone scrolling. So that's way better in that regard as well, without taking at the end of the day, you're tired. You don't really want to like take them out and kick a ball around. You can still do something together that like for you, a game is just turning your brain off. For him, it's like super challenging. It's a bit balanced like that.
So that's sick. We thought this was cool. We've seen a few little things and wanted to chat about it because we think, man, it's one of those things that people always tell me, wasting your time. And I'm like, I attribute a lot of my success to being able to sit down for hours. Like I said to Darrell, that triggered this conversation was I spent 3 days on the same problem and I had to redo it 3 times. That was, for me, it was so frustrating. And I said, without having gamed before, I don't think I could do this. So yeah, I think sometimes you just got to find, things that other people think are a waste of time can actually be very useful if you tune them or redirect that energy in the right place.
Yeah, boy.
All right. See you later.
Let's go. More final bosses. Let's go.